I think Republicans have been unwilling, for whatever reason, reluctant, resistant to voting early and voting by mail. Do they have to get over that reluctance, that resistance?
Sure, look, I mean, you have to play the game by the rules that are existing. That means, for example, if you want Generation Z voters, you've got to be on TikTok, even if, in fact, in the long run, we may abolish TikTok as a Chinese communist device.
Where did that go?
John, you know, Hannity's asking a great question. You know, it seems like Republican voters are randomly allergic to early voting and mail-in voting. What's going on here?
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
It could be genetic, it could be environmental. I don't know.
I mean, it's not like Hannity and other conservative media hosts have been lying about mail-in votes being fraudulent or anything like that, or how early voting has all sorts of problems associated with it, right?
And it's all lies and it's all faked and they'll steal your vote and you can't count on it. And
right.
Yeah, but to be fair, they've only all been saying that constantly for 3 years.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
For whatever reason.
Well, before we explain the mind-numbingly obvious reasons why Republican voters aren't voting by mail or early voting like Democrats are, why don't we check in with another conservative chud?
I want to say I do sympathize with being upset with the Republican Party and not totally trusting the system, but not participating at all guarantees the other side to be able to play games. And if everything was broken and lost, how did we win the House of Representatives? If everything is broken and lost, how did Ron Johnson, who stood up against the pharmaceutical company, win in Wisconsin? If everything was broken and lost, how did Ron DeSantis win by 17 votes? The MAGA movement is committing suicide in front of our very eyes because of, and if you extrapolate that, that means there, and we see it in the numbers, we see it in the data, millions of people that have said we are no longer going to vote.
You know, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, the chickens do come home to roost. And that karma is just so sweet.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, we told you guys not to vote by mail, so why aren't you voting by mail? I mean, you're just giving Democratic voters the opportunity to play games. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
What are the games? Are the games voting?
It's getting votes. Yeah, well, no, he's contractually not allowed to make almost a good point without immediately saying a bunch of stupid as hell stuff. So that's what he was doing. His point is right. They need to encourage their voters to vote whenever, wherever, legally. But he can't be content to say that. He then has to imply that because Republicans don't mail-in vote, that allows Democrats to steal the mail-in vote? No, it just allows them to be ahead in the mail-in vote because you're choosing not to vote. That's all it is. And if everything is lost and broken, how are we able to take the House? Well, that is a good demonstration of the fact that the elections are not being stolen by the vote. There's no mules, there's no drop boxes, but you do bring up the fact that you guys won the House, and that is because the system is broken. It's legally broken. They redistrict in a way that gave them a massive advantage, whereas some maps like New York's were rejected by the judicial system. That is games that are being played. If you want to talk about games, that's games actual politicians are playing, including the guy you cited, Ron DeSantis.
Yes, exactly. And as Madeline Peltz writes on Twitter, Charlie Kirk has spent the first hour of his show reading emails from his listeners who said they didn't vote in Georgia because they didn't believe there's too much because they believe there's too much fraud, a message they heard on Charlie Kirk's show.
Well, and look, generally the Republicans have been saying don't trust this, up to and including just a few days ago when Trump multiple times was bleeding out, you can't trust mail-in ballots. But let's bear in mind, Georgia was the big place for it. I mean, the run up to the 2020 election, there was a lot of it. But between that election and the previous runoffs, Trump nonstop was telling people don't participate, you can't trust it. And so it's kind of delicious that once again, that might have been enough to swing it. There was a lot of other problems, and focusing too much on mail-in and early ballots in this particular race when you had a far bigger problem in the candidate that you chose is a little bit convenient for Charlie Kirk.
That's a great point.
But he's not wrong that they do need to start encouraging people to vote.
Now, we've got another Taylor Ellis classic. It's a compilation because we just want to, look, we like to provide a public service here at TYT. You know, You've got Sean Hannity asking the question, what is going on with the Republican voters? You've got Charlie Kirk trying to encourage mail-in voting. We just want to help them understand why Republican voters are voting the way they are. Let's watch.
I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. The mail-in voting scam is the latest part of their 4-year effort to overturn the results of the 2016 election. They're sending millions of ballots all over the country. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. We caught them doing some really bad things in 2016. Let's see what happens. We caught them doing some really bad things. We have to be very careful because they're trying it again with this whole 80 million mail-in ballots that they're working on. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election.
What if, just hear me out on this. What if Trump was actually a Democrat all along and he decided to destroy the Republican Party from the inside?
Well, he's done more individual damage to it than any Democrat could ever hope. But
should we
Trump
like
is
him?
I mean, he's done a lot of bad stuff along the way, a lot of really horrible stuff.
Yes.
1/3 of the Supreme Court is a result of that op, unfortunately.
Okay, I was kidding, and now you're ruining my good mood by mentioning the Supreme Court.
Anna is wrong. No. But yeah, no, he is continuing to do a ton of damage, and some are refusing to learn the lesson from that. I think that it is going to be difficult for the Republicans to come out of this midterm election without realizing that they need to have actual credible candidates. But there are some that are trying to stop that lesson from being learned. Marjorie Greene was on Steve Bannon's show in the last day, and she was saying Georgia is proof that we need to stop listening to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell did not want Herschel Walker.
No. Let her speak. Don't interrupt her.
Let them fight.
Let her speak.
Yeah.
Keep doling out that advice, Marjorie Greene. I'm here for it.
No, if Trump is the candidate again, then that is not only potentially really damning for the Republicans in the presidential election, but that will buttress his continued presence as kingmaker. They'll have another round of horrendous Senate candidates.
Excellent.
Oh, please do it. But along the way, I do want him to viciously mock Ron DeSantis for a year or so, and then he should become the candidate, I guess.
Yep. So we'll see. What happens. Wait, hold on. Ron DeSantis should be the candidate?
No, Donald Trump.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Well, look, I don't like either. There are huge risks to both. Having Donald Trump, even just as a candidate who goes on to fail, is not a no damage game. He will continue to say and do crazy things that will embolden people, normalize anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny, and homophobia. That will exact an actual real world cost on people's lives in terms of increased harassment, assault, and potentially death. So there's downsides to both of these, but I know a lot of people when they're doing this calculus are like, well, Ron DeSantis is way more reasonable. That's what makes him dangerous. Maybe, but he's also not that much more reasonable. And that dude has been demonizing the LGBTQ community like nonstop for like 2 years. So the gap is not as big as some people think it is between the damage they would do.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.